So last night we had our first presidential debate here in the United States. Now I'm not going to be talking about the debate. Don't worry, we're not going to be talking about politics. We're going to be talking about why this matters for Bitcoin, or if it matters at all. Here's a quick stat sheet looking at the returns of the stock market during different presidential reigns. Now, given that Bitcoin and the stock market and gold have at times traded similarly, in the sense that if risk assets like stocks are doing well, maybe people are willing to take that risk and assume that Bitcoin's also going to do quite well. It's just an interesting sheet looking at whether or not a Republican or a Democratic president will lead to better returns. I'm not sure you can really draw too much evidence, but it's a nice chart from Chao Wang. So the question still looms, is Trump or Biden better for Bitcoin? They've both actually talked about Bitcoin and have tweeted about Bitcoin, even though they're probably too old to even understand why it matters, and I don't expect them to talk about it in the debates. It would be fun to watch, but I just don't think it's going to happen. Trump famously tweeted this about Bitcoin, actually kind of lashing out, and I think it just proves they don't really understand it. And trust me, we're going to get to the Bitcoin chart, so stick around for that. But he looked at it and he said, I'm not a fan of Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, which are not money, and whose value is highly volatile and based on thin air. Unregulated crypto assets can facilitate unlawful behavior, including drug trade and other illegal activity. I've talked about this in a CNN interview. If you want to actually stop illegal activity or stop monies that help facilitate illegal activity, like the drug trade or money laundering, the dollar is the most used currency for that. But let's keep going with this tweet to see Trump's view on Bitcoin. Similarly, Facebook's Libra virtual currency, which I'm not sure if they're working on anymore, will have little standing or dependability. If Facebook and other companies want to become a bank, they must seek a new banking charter. And he goes on to just talk about banking. So Trump, that one out of the way, is not the biggest fan of Bitcoin, and that came out late last year. Biden's actually also talked about Bitcoin, and this is what he tweeted. He said, I don't have Bitcoin, and I'll never ask you to send me any, but if you do want to chip in to help make Donald Trump a one-term president, you can do that here. This was in response to the really famous Bitcoin hack that happened on Twitter not too long ago when Elon Musk, Coinbase, Gemini, Joe Biden, there were several celebrities. There was a Twitter hack and a hacker asked for everyone to send Bitcoin. So I'm not even sure that Biden is aware of Bitcoin, and I really don't think Trump's put much time into it. But for people watching the debates and saying, is this good or bad for Bitcoin? I don't think you can really make an argument either way. You could maybe make an argument with that chart that I showed earlier. I'll flash it again, looking at what president would be better for stocks. What does the market like more? Is it a Trump or a Biden election? But once again, I just don't know if you can actually draw that. For people that are much more focused on the markets and on Bitcoin and on crypto, the things that are actually interesting, instead of the presidential debates, one way you can track what's happening is actually going over to FTX, and they have coins that do track Trump or Biden. So if you want to make Bitcoin by being able to trade these, I spoke with their CEO. You can listen to the full episode, and I asked him all about these contracts, how they work. It's pretty simple. If you were to buy a Trump coin, this is a crypto coin, and it's priced right now at 40 cents, and he does get elected to be president, you'd get paid at $1 for every single coin you have. Exact same thing for Biden, but I think he's priced closer to 55 or 60 cents. Once again, you make $1 if he's elected, and you'd lose that money if the other person is elected. So it's a little way you can make some Bitcoin. If you're not interested in the debates, I'm never going to cover politics here. It's just not what I'm interested in. I'm much more interested in how Bitcoin's going to react. And if we pull up the Bitcoin chart, we're really still stuck in a range. It's the exact same price range that I made a video about last week, and I'll break it down right here. So this is the Bitcoin chart. This is a 4-hour chart. So just looking at since August or end of July when we had that very nice rise from Bitcoin, this is the last time that Bitcoin was extremely bullish, moving very quickly up through the 10K, through the 11K, and eventually finding highs around 12K. That's the yearly high we've put in so far for 2020, and that's basically where all the momentum has stopped. Now, this first area I have here marked in green, I just like to keep it simple, use green for supports, red for resistances, or areas where buyers are stepping in or where sellers are stepping in. Right? This first area, after we get above this mark, right, the first pullback that we have on a seriously parabolic rise, right, the first pullback actually comes right here, right? This is where we first face resistance and price is pushing back down, right? Buyer stepping in, right? Pushing up, we move back down, right? Buyer stepping in, we're pushing up, right? So that already is being defined as a support. And you could basically say this is from 10.8 up to 11K, right? So as you move above 11K, this area acting as immediate support, right? And that's why I have it marked right here with this little white curve, right? You can see as wicks move through this level, right? Buyers are strong enough to keep us still above. So that right there is our support. And there were several times actually as we continue to try to push into 12K and past 12K, we drop back down and touch that 11K support, move higher, right? We drop back down, touch that 12K or 11K support, pardon me, and move back higher. Now, as September kicked off and Bitcoin and really the entire crypto market has been in a bit of a lull, we've had a pullback, weakness has showed up, the momentum has stopped, we're not making new highs. When we broke down below this level, right, this previous support, which buyers had now defended, right, I would expect that area to become resistance. Right? Previous support area turning into resistance. You can think about it as either buyers got trapped. You can think about it as a big psychological level where buyers used to defend it. Since we broke through, now sellers are going to defend that level. However you want to think about it, right? The chart is going to make it very easy to see, and it's going to also give us a map of what I'm looking at as we move into October. Right? So this area, which was original support, it became support again, it became support again, and as we broke through this level, right, it's now flipped and acted as resistance. As price moved up into 11K, right, after our September drop, we have our September drop, right, price moves in, we touch this level, it acts as resistance before moving lower. So as I kind of look at the map of where we sit currently, right, what is the current support, what's the current resistance that I really need to focus on as I build a plan going into the month, I made this video last week and I think it's still valid, right? Right now, the level that got defended is basically 10K, a big psychological number, it's a big round number. 10K is where this September drop has stopped. Right, and now we're range bound. We're stuck in between 10K and 11K, right? A nice little $1,000 range that I just expect price to continue chopping. Now, instead of trying to guess and say, I guess we're going to break higher or I guess we're going to break down from here, being able to have these two levels defined, and right now I have it as 10.8 up to 11K, right? So a really small kind of $200 range. This is where I think sellers will step in. It's what acted as resistance last night, and it's also what's keeping price down right now, right? That's our kind of resistance. Our immediate support is still down at 10K, call it to 10.15, right? So this $1,000 range, what I expect us to continue playing in, at least for the short term, if we break above. And as I look at this range, the reason I want to have this mapped out is because when we have consolidation or when we have price trading in a tighter and tighter range, right, as it just continues to do this, Bitcoin and crypto assets in general are assets that tend to trend a lot, right? When Bitcoin starts trending, it goes on these huge expansionary moves, right? When we're in an uptrend, we trend all the way from 3K up to 12K. When we're in a downtrend, we trend all the way from 12K down to 6 or 7, right? Huge trending moves. So when price is stuck in a tighter range, or we're stuck in this $1,000 range between 10 and 11K, I just want to decide what's kind of the upside of that range, or what's the top of that range, what's the bottom of that range. And if we get a confirmed close above, or a confirmation is what I like to call it, like let's say a daily candle closes above here, let's say Bitcoin does something like this, right? We actually hit a close and we move higher. This would be my confirmation point if Bitcoin can start closing above this 11K mark or above 11.1K, right? It's the exact same kind of look, or the exact same formation we had last time. As price moves through 11K and it comes back down, I would expect that area to be support before we move higher. That's the type of move I'd be looking to for the upside. So instead of having to predict that that's going to happen, I'm just looking for a confirmed close above. That to me would signal that we're done playing in this $1,000 range and we're actually ready to move higher. Right, so that's kind of what I'm looking at for the upside. Exact same thing to the downside. Right, if price drops, I don't think there's any need to panic. Sure, it'd be a little bit worrying that we weren't able to break through this resistance and we have to test support again. But unless we have a close below this 9,900, right, I'm not expecting 8Ks. I'm not expecting 7Ks or even coming up with those targets. Right, using these two levels as my confirmation points, if price can break above, I think it would do something very similar to the first time we passed above 11K. Right, using that as support before we move higher. Or if price comes back down, this is support until it's broken. And if it's broken, sure, then I'm looking for more downside. I probably want to be hedged or be in cash or be waiting for my buys much lower. Right? So using this current range really as a guide to say, okay, price is not ready to trend yet. We're not ready to expand yet. We're stuck in a $1,000 range. And when price is in a $1,000 range, recognizing that and adjusting your strategy to say, look, we're probably going to chop until we have a confirmed close outside of this range will help you avoid, buying when you get excited and we move up $500 and selling when you get scared and you move down $500. I'd be looking for a move outside of this range to really determine where we trend next. So there you have it. We have our presidential debates. I'm sure people are going to be saying Trump's good for Bitcoin, or Biden's better for Bitcoin, or one of them is better for the markets. It is so hard to say right now, and it's even harder to predict that one of them is going to win and it causes this effect in the market. It's all noise for now, and I'm really just going to focus on Bitcoin. I'm not going to cover any more presidential debates, but I want to make you guys aware of both of their previous comments on Bitcoin. What's more important is that Bitcoin range. If we have a close above the 11K, I'm looking for upside, and if we start closing below that 99, well then I probably want to be at least sitting in cash and maybe thinking this sell-off then turns into an extended little bear market before we can move higher. Those are the things that I'm looking for. Use the chart to your advantage, right? Tune out all the noise, tune out all the pundits that are going to be saying Trump's good for Bitcoin or Biden's good for Bitcoin. That's what they've both said, and I don't think they're going to say too much more on it. If you guys like this video, drop a subscribe right down below. I am moving into a new studio this week, so I know the videos have been a little bit sporadic. We haven't had daily videos, but I'm back to that. Moving on Friday, full video studio, so I'm really excited for that. Thank you guys for bearing with me. Drop a like and a comment. Also, let me know what you guys think. If you do think one of them's better for the election, I always like to see what you guys have to say. Last thing before you go. If you want to buy Bitcoin, people have been saying this is the best way to opt out of all the craziness that's happening with the election. You can buy Bitcoin on Crypto.com on their mobile app. Download it right down below. They sponsor these daily videos, and it is the best mobile app to have on your phone. It lets you average into Bitcoin. It is so simple to do right on your phone. Best way to buy Bitcoin. Download it. Check them out. Tell them I sent you. That's all I got, guys. I'll see you in the next video.